Everybody heard it? All right. So if you don't want to be on screen when you talk, now you know it's being recorded. All right, let me go back to this other screen. There we go. So, apologize for that. So, with this one-on-one meeting agenda, this is the tool that I've used to give feedback, both positive and adjusting. And I don't like to say negative feedback because it doesn't show that we're in a growth mindset. And we want to always be growing and moving towards something positive. So, I always say positive feedback or adjusting feedback because there are things that we can adjust that will then move us forward. So, I'm going to go just work through this and give you some examples so that you understand how this works. So the first thing is always greeting, good things, personal pleasantries. Hey, how is your day going today? Hey, how was the soccer game this past weekend for your daughter? I heard you had a family reunion. How'd that go? Did your aunt show up from Mississippi? Fantastic. Just personal pleasantries that show that you are invested in the person that you are dealing with. Now, if they ask you personal questions back, that's great because that means they are showing interest in having that relationship with you. I see some of you taking notes. Fantastic. I'm going to give you this PDF so you don't have to worry about copying this all down. So this is going to go out in the email later today when you get it, so you don't have to write it down. You'll have it all. So you can, if you still want to take notes, that's fine. And just establish that relationship. Relationship is key. If you think back to, and I always think about Mrs. Donaldson was my senior year math teacher, and I hated math. I'm horrible at math. Who puts letters and numbers together and calls it algebra? That makes no sense to me. Why would you do such a horrible thing? But I loved Mrs. Donaldson. She made an effort to make a relationship with me. I was the new kid in the school. And she made sure that I was taken care of. I knew where things was. So I had a great love for her. So I always did my homework for Mrs. Donaldson, even though I hated math. People don't work for you out of obligation. They work for you out of relationship and trust. So that's one of the key things that you need to have. Now, can sometimes those relationships have hard conversations? Absolutely. And sometimes those need to be had. But when you have that relationship as the foundation, that's going to cushion a lot of some of the harder things that you may have to deal with together. So, number two, and this is literally the agenda in the script that you just move right through. Ask the question, what is something that you have done well this past week? And just let them share. It could be, hey, I got here on time. Okay, because sometimes being on time is hard for people. All right. Yep. We're going to try to make that an everyday thing for you to be on time. But yes, excellent job. And why do you, and ask the why. Why is that something that you're proud of? Why is that something that stuck out to you as something that went well? And let them answer, because whatever they tell you is giving you data and information into their mind and gives you a better understanding of who they are. Number three, what is something that you think you could have done better or that you feel you need to work on? And again, let them give it to you, because they may pick something out of left field that wasn't even on your radar, but now it is. And that gives you, again, more data, more information so that you can help mentor, coach, and make them better. And then just let them talk about it. Okay, so why do you think you need to do that better? Okay. Yep. You need to do that better for this reason. Sure. This is a great opportunity and a place for you to tie in the mission of whatever company or organization that you're working with at that time. So yes, you're right. We do need to do that better because that helps us X, Y, and Z and fulfill the mission. And keep those mission statements short so that you can repeat them quickly and it becomes part of everyday common language for your staff. So this is where you move into the feedback that you are going to give your direct report. Number four, something I saw that you did an excellent job on was fill in the blank. And be specific. Be specific and share why it was good. You filled out your 1073 report excellently this week. I really appreciate that you did that, because we've got other people who are not doing that. That creates a backlog of fixes that we have to do on the back end. It slows down paperwork, but you doing that form correctly was excellent. That expedites things for us. Easy, simple, to the point. You don't have to puff people up or say anything, because again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Some people do not receive compliments well. Some people are not words of affirmation, and they're just like, oh, I hate it when people, are nice to me or give me compliments. And sometimes they will self-sabotage because of that. So Quick, to the point, and specific. Again, another point where another time when you can tie in your mission, your vision, your goals, or something that you are building on. So, 3 or 4 weeks ago in the webinar, I talked about a Sally that I was working with, and I was giving her constructive feedback, but she was really on the ball with some things, and I was building her up, and I kept giving her positive feedback on the things that she was doing. And again, this was like 10 to 15-second things. This was one of my teachers when I was an assistant principal, and I would go into her classroom and she was trying a new teaching strategy, and I would, just watch and she'd do it. And I'd say, hey, this was fantastic. Because did you see Jimmy, Bobby, and Susie over here? They really grasped that concept when you explained it in that new way. Excellent. Do that again. Keep doing that. How long did that take me to say? 10 seconds? So that's something I was building her up for. And then I'd have her explain that same teaching technique to another teacher. Hey, can you go give that to Mrs. Smith over there and just explain how you did that? Because it's fantastic and I think she's interested in that. Great, thank you. 6 seconds, but I'm building something. So when I'm building them, I'm using the thing that I'm building with them to increase their confidence. Second point of that, it may be a project that I'm trying to build them up to or that we're currently working on. I'm building relational capacity with them. Just personally, they need to be able to know that they can trust me, and I need to be able to know that I can trust them. The fourth point is it may be professional capacity. Maybe this is somebody that I'm putting some things on and maybe giving some extra work to see how they handle that, because maybe I need another manager in 6 more months. I don't need one now, but when I hire that manager in 6 months, I want them to hit the ground running. And if I can start building this person up now and preparing them, then maybe they step into that role and they're that perfect person that I need. So all reasons why you want to be specific and to the point on why the thing was good that they did, whatever it is. Maybe it's a customer interaction. Maybe it's not even a hard good. Maybe it's a soft skill that you saw the person doing an excellent job of. Hey, did you see how you handled that customer there? You took care of their needs. You answered their question. You affirmed them in the decision that they made. You also upselled them to a better product, which is better for us, better for you, better for them. They're going to leave having a fantastic experience with our company and our business. Excellent job. Thanks for that. I just did like 4 things. I coached them, I mentored them, I affirmed them, and I was also specific in the feedback that I gave to them, and it took me 15 seconds to do. You guys can all do the same thing. Exceptional leadership doesn't take a ton of time, but it does take short bursts of purposeful and intentional instruction on your part. So let's look at number 5. These are some of the growth points. And I like to say growth point because if you say the word negative, people think negative. But if you say, hey, this is an area of growth for you, oh, okay, I can grow from this. Yes, because when people think, oh, I'm getting negative feedback, they think, oh man, I'm going to get fired at some point, or they don't like me anymore. But if you say, hey, this is a point of growth for you, that has a totally different connotation to it. They're like, oh, they're invested in me. They want to see me grow. They want to see me get better. They don't want to just give me negative. They want to see me get better. So number 5, something that is a point of growth for you. Again, be specific in what you heard, you saw, or you experienced. Be specific why it wasn't correct, if applicable. Say, you didn't do this wrong, or you did this incorrectly, but it's not wrong. It's just not the way that we need it done. Because not all things are bad. Sometimes they just need refinement. Think about when you taught your kids to tie their shoes. Sometimes they would come up to you and be like, look, mommy, daddy, I did it. I tied my shoe. And you'd look down at this nest of knots that they made. Yes, you tied your shoe, but we need some refinement to make this a little bit better. Letter C, ask if they have any ideas on how to correct the issue. So if you said, hey, you did this Form 1073 wrong, ask them how you think they should do it better the next time, or the correct way to do it. The reason that I want you to ask for them to solve the problem is if you are always the problem solver for your direct reports, they may never learn to problem solve on their own. I'm going to say that again. If you always are the problem solver, your direct reports may not learn to problem solve on their own. And what you want people to be able to do is be independent thinkers and movers and actors. I don't mean actors like in movies, but I mean people who act and take action and can do that independently of you. Because the more that you have to have that touch with your employee, that's time that is taken away from you that you might need to be doing something else. If you have an employee who can work independently of you 99% of the week, that's a highly effective relationship and a highly effective employee, and that's what you want. So let them tell you what they could do to fix that, because their solution might be better. I had a friend in the Army, and not that I was in the Army, he was in the Army, and he said he had a sergeant who always gave the hardest jobs to the laziest soldier. And I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would you give the hardest job to the laziest soldier? And he said, because the laziest soldier will find the quickest way to accomplish his goal. I never thought about it that way before. If you have certain parameters that need to be followed, absolutely. But if you don't and you just need the job done, yeah, listen to somebody else, because they might have a really great idea on what needs to be done instead of what you might be thinking. Remember, as leaders, as people who hire, and again, we're probably going to get into this a couple weeks when we talk about hiring, but it's not about hiring people who are just like us. It's about hiring people who can do the job that you don't like to do. So raise your hand on the screen if you know who the Myron Golden is. He's a famous speaker. He's a coach. He's a consultant. Get like $1 bazillion for speaking engagements. Look him up. He's really interesting. I like him a lot. And he said when he got to a point in his business when he could hire, the very first thing he hired for was technology. Now, Myron Golden, I'm guessing, is probably in his early 60s right now. And he's come on strong in the past probably 5 years. So we're talking about a man who is in his mid to late 50s, who is not very well versed in technology. And I mean, look at what our teenagers can do with their phones and their computers right now, right? So he said, I hated technology. I wasn't good at it. That is the very first thing that I hired. When we hire, that's what we want to do. We want to hire people who can do the jobs that we are either not good at or don't like to do, and who have a different skill set than us. So in my household, that is me and my wife. I am not a technology person. I'm not very good at technology, but my wife can connect a printer and have it working in less than 5 minutes. And me, I'm like an hour on Google, like, what driver do I need? Oh my goodness, what I need to install this? What are you talking about? And my wife just comes in and clickety clack and it's done. So when you have employees who give you suggestions, I need you to review that in your brain. Like, okay, is that really going to work? Huh. Yeah, I think it will. Let them go with it. Give them the autonomy to make that decision. You can do the same thing with your kids. I've done this with my kids, just obviously because this is the mindset that I have about, leadership and managing people, which is like managing kids. But sometimes when one of my daughters comes up to me and I'm like, hey, I need you to put your laundry away. All right, well, Dad, can I put my laundry away later because I have to do my homework now? And if I do my homework now, I can turn on my assignment early. If I turn my assignment in early, I'll have all evening to do my laundry. Okay, yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Do it that way. Now, what does my daughter feel? She feels empowered to make good decisions. She also is encouraged to think about problems. This is the same thing that you can do with your direct reports and your employees. So ask them, point C, ask them how they would correct the issue. They may surprise you. And this is going to give you, again, more data and insight into how they think. Letter D under point 5, if they don't supply a good solution, you need to be prepared with specific insights on how they can correct the issue. Sometimes they have no idea. Oh, this form 1073, I didn't know I was doing it wrong. Great information. Great information. Maybe there's a hole in your training in some point. Maybe the person who trained them needs some correction, or maybe needs some more training on how to do something correctly. Again, it's always giving you data and information. So always be prepared. Have something in the back of your mind when you come into this meeting, like, okay, yep, I know what I'm going to suggest for them to do. But if they have a good idea and it sounds like it's going to work, let them run with it. Absolutely. Number 6, always ask, is there anything you need support on? Anything. Is there anything you need support on? Because they just received some positive feedback from you. They just received some adjusting feedback from you. Now you need to ask, is there any support that you need? This could be a point from their growth point that you just talked about, or another matter entirely. A couple weeks ago, I shared a story about one of my direct reports who came in for our one-on-one meeting. I think maybe I shared it this week. And she asked if she could close the door because she just needed to have a good cry. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I'll turn around and do some email. Here's some tissues. Just let me know when you're done. And that was an incredibly bonding moment for the two of us. She became one of my most trusted. This is when I was assistant principal. She became one of my most trusted teachers. And she is actually in that role now, that I vacated years ago. And she is the assistant principal in that school now. And it's fantastic to see her doing that. But when you ask if they need support in something, so I'll share a little bit more about this teacher because this may have a good impact for you when you think about this. Why did she need to have a good cry? She needed to have a good cry because she was 39 years old and she had finally found a husband. And he always wanted to have kids and she didn't think she could have kids. They had gone through IVF fertilization and they had just found out that they were pregnant. This is exciting because she had had several miscarriages before. So she was emotionally just all over the place. I gave her that space to tell me that. And then as she moved in, like she told me, but none of the other teachers and anybody else in the school, because that gave me insights and understanding where she was like, Todd, if I ask you to come and just like watch my classroom so I can run to the bathroom for a second, would you be willing to do that? Absolutely. Yes, I'll read a story to the kids. I think she was a kindergarten teacher at the time. I'll read a story to the kids. You go to the bathroom. And what did that do for us? That gave us such a good relationship where, man, I could say just about anything to her and she would take it. Hey, I really need you to fix this one part about your whatever. Okay, Todd. Yep, I got it. Because I had built such a strong relational capacity with her. So I'm going to scroll down here and here's some more points for you as leaders to ponder. Again, this is going to come to you in the PDF just like this, so you'll have all these points. This simple form, it's 6 points. And then let me go back and just tell you about this. All these extra points down here, this is for you. My form, when I fill it out every week, just has the main sentence behind each number. So a greeting and good things, what is something that you have done well this week? And then I take notes on this form. And then I keep this form in a file for every one of my direct reports. My direct reports also know that this is the form that I'm using. They got a copy of it at the beginning during the training, so they knew what to expect when they would come into my office. They knew I'm going to hear something good and I'm going to hear something that I could do better. And they know that I'm going to ask them if they need support in anything. So leaders, points to ponder, some simple things that are the simple form does a multitude of things. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue tied today. First, it provides a time and structure to coach your people regularly. It gives you, and again, this meeting, this one-on-one was 15 minutes scheduled, hard beginning, hard end. So 15 minutes, that means if I had to kind of rush it at the end, I would, just to make sure that I respected that time because I was taking time out of their day to get this done. But it gave me a 15-minute touch point with every single one of my direct reports. Second point, it gives leaders who are introverts a script to follow. Believe it or not, this is a question that I've gotten several times in the past couple of weeks. Todd, I'm an introvert, but I'm a manager and I lead people. What do I do? Because some introverts struggle with being quick on their feet and they don't know how to handle questions. So this gives a script for them to follow. Introverts sometimes struggle with questions that come up that they're not prepared for. And if you have a script in front of you, you're much more likely to follow the script and get to the point. And sometimes introverts struggle with that. Not all, but some. On the opposite end of that, it gives leaders who are extroverts a script to keep them focused. If you are prone to talk and can talk to anybody for any amount of time, like me, I make friends at the grocery store while I'm waiting in line. This keeps me focused because once we've done number 2, we go on to number 3. Once we're done with number 3, we go on to number 4. And I have had some direct reports say, Todd, we've got 2 minutes left. We've got 3 points to go. Understood. Yes, let's keep moving. This also takes some emotion out of the process. So if you're on this call, you're in some sort of leadership or dealing with leadership in some way, shape, or form. And negative things or points of growth can sometimes raise emotions. And we're like, oh man, I don't know if they're going to get mad. It makes me feel funny. Sometimes leaders are task avoidant when it comes to giving, adjusting feedback or talking about points of growth. I don't want them to get mad at me and I don't know how they're going to react. So, but if I've got this form in front of me and I know that I'm going to cover it and they know what they're going to hear, it takes the emotion out of it. It really, really does. And that's huge because they know what to expect and everybody's on the same page. It also keeps everyone in a growth mindset and solution oriented. If I am constantly giving you the solution, you are not going to develop your own thought process to become solution oriented. You're going to just wait for me to give it to you. Same thing with parenting. If you are always tying your kid's shoes, you're always going to be tying your kid's shoes. At some point, they need to take autonomy of that and start problem solving on their own. The last point, and this is a really good one for a lot of reasons, is it gives leadership documentation. So I would print this form out. I'd like have a stack of them in my office. I could just grab them. I could put some pre-notes on there that I wanted to talk about with my people. And then when that form was done, I would either make a copy for my direct reports if they wanted one. Sometimes they asked for them, just to keep them focused. Like, oh yes, I have to remember I need to work on this week, or yep, I need support in this. Most of the times they didn't. But I kept a file folder in my filing cabinet with these forms and I put them in chronological order for every single direct report that I had. Because 3 months from now, hey, wait a minute, Form 1073. Why does it ring a bell for me? Oh, wait a minute. 3 months ago, Jim was struggling to do his Form 1073. Now he's struggling with that again. This is good information for me to know because then I can go in with a little bit more authority and say, hey, Jim, 3 months ago, you were struggling with this. Do you remember that? What does that build for you in Jim's mind? Oh, wow. Todd's really paying attention. Todd's really paying attention to what I'm doing, and he remembers, even if I don't. But now I've got documentation that shows me what I need to be thinking about, right? Also, kind of like, I don't know, any of you have kids who have done like a scrapbook of your kids, like art projects over the years when they're growing up, or keeping some sort of record of things that they've done. This also gives you a great place to document progress. Like, wow, Jim struggled with that Form 1073 3 months ago. I now have him training other people to do Form 1073s when they're new to the company. Jim is really taking the coaching well. He's growing. Maybe something I need to think about or keep in mind. So going back to the original topic of managers and keeping them reined in or direct reports, this is one of my primary tools that I use to do this, because this keeps things in order. This lets them know, yes, Todd is going to give me some positive feedback. Yes, Todd is going to give me some adjusting feedback and some points of growth. And when you are, I guess, kept in check on a regular basis, it's hard for people to get out of check and kind of go off into the weeds on their own. So I want to open it up to you. Do any of you have any questions about this? Or it could be unrelated and something completely different. I'm going to take this off share and just go back to my main screen. Here we go. Go ahead.
Or sorry, I have a question. I may have to run off here just for a second, but we have a thing for like revalidation, a realignment is what we call it. It's basically when we've told or instructed a person 2 or 3 times about an issue, and it's basically going to them and giving them the feedback and the format ahead of time that they need to come with us when we meet with them. What do they do to cause that? What do they need for them not to repeat the issue? Basically, it's making them come with us with the answers. So, and there's a form that we fill out and everything. Some of my staff doesn't like the word realignment, but they're having a hard time also holding people accountable, and documenting that. Is there a better word we can use that makes, instead of being negative feedback, like you're saying, some not so great feedback, or is there another word we could use that would make it easier or better for people to absorb it?
Yep. One of the things that we used was called a PIP, a PIP, a plan of improvement, even though it doesn't plan of improvement or plan in improvement. That's kind of the exact same thing, where we would then, that was, I think, maybe a little bit more serious than what you're talking about. A plan of improvement for us was, okay, this employee is now, we're starting to think about their employment status with us. And so a plan of improvement is, these are the things that need to improve. Here's why they need to improve. These are the ways that you need to improve them. Now, we would get feedback from them as well in case they had a better idea of something. But that at least showed, we don't necessarily want to get rid of you, but we need to improve, and it is serious.
The issue that we're running into with that is that we do have the PIP. It's just nobody's even getting to that point. It's just a lot of complaints about other people, or the management's complaining about them, and because they're always telling and repeating and repeating and repeating. And I have a feeling it's because they're continually telling people how to do things instead of letting the person tell them what they need from them to be able to do the job. And that's why I created that realignment with another mentor, actually with Jonathan, to do that with. But a lot of them are stuck on that word realignment, because I consider that realignment as a negative connotation, because I really would love for people to do that, because if they will give it to them ahead of time, just like this, there is no surprises when they do meet, and everybody's prepared for the information to be shared, and take out the, hey, it's not negative, it's just, we need you to do it this way. Okay. To prevent X, Y, and Z. So we've told you X, Y, and Z. So what now do you need from us? Because we're not giving you what you want, because obviously you're not doing it correctly, or doing it the way we need it done.
So it sounds like we could call it a PIP, we could call it realignment, we could call it a unicorn. It doesn't matter what the document is called. It is the actions of the people holding others accountable. Is that what needs work, do you think?
I think that's more that needs work on. Yeah. Because it's not being used, and there's a lot of places where it could be used.
Yeah.
If somebody's constantly not doing adjustments, or not doing, or posting payments, or for whatever reason that they're saying benefit checks aren't being done, or phones aren't being answered, or there's a lot of different, and the staff does not like going straight to a PIP or straight to a write-up. I have really great managers, but they have really great hearts, and they're afraid of people reducing people's confidence, I guess you could say. But yet they're over here upset about it and not sharing it with the people that needs to be hearing it.
I'm going to take you back to a story that I had with one of my students in class when I was a sixth grade teacher, just over 15 years ago now. And this student was cutting up in class, and I said, I'll just say Sam. Hey, Sam. Hey, buddy. I'm serious. I don't think the phone number works anymore, so I'm going to use it. I still remember it. Sam, I need you to, Mr. Hendricks, I'm not listening to you. Sam, buddy, I need you to get in line. Sam, 206-2066. That was his dad's number. I memorized his dad's cell phone number. And as soon as I said that, he knew exactly what I was saying. And all the other kids were like, what is he talking about? I don't know. But that was just between me and Sam, hey, you're crossing the line. Hello? We as leaders, oh man, she's going to miss it. All right, everybody clap when she comes back. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. We as leaders, and I'll repeat this when she comes back, we have to be able to get in the junk of our other people. We have to not be afraid to have the hard conversation. It's kind of like your kids. You have to not be afraid to say, excuse me? What did you just say? I know you think that you're in charge, but don't forget the lion still lives here. And you woke up the lion. So now we're in trouble. You have to be able, and I'm not saying that you have to be threatening or demeaning or anything, but you have to be able to just sit down and call the baby ugly. Does anybody remember the last time I used that phrase? Call the baby ugly. Here's where that comes from. Everybody loves babies, right? Oh, look at the new baby. Yes. You know what? I should find my baby picture. When I was born, I looked like a lizard. I was an ugly, ugly baby. And Mom, if you're watching this, I apologize. She's probably going to catch it on the replay. I was a funky looking kid. I really was. So, Davia, I was an ugly baby when I was born. Thanks for coming back. And we have to
Sorry.
call. That's all right.
Go
That's
ahead.
all right. Sometimes we have to call the baby ugly. Oh, look at this baby. Isn't this baby beautiful? No. Todd was ugly. Todd was an ugly baby. And we have to be able to just say the hard thing. So, oftentimes when we're talking to our direct reports, we're going to have something that may not necessarily be positive to say to them. We have to be okay with saying that. And that's a point of growth for management. You have to be able to have those hard conversations. I was that client who was re-engaging me. I talked with them this morning, and the operation, they did a brand new organizational flow chart for their business last week, and they all agreed on who was going to have certain responsibilities. Well, the COO stepped in and stepped outside of their bounds this week and started doing things that they were doing 2 weeks ago, which were not supposed to be done by them. They were not supposed to do it. So I asked the person who I was on the call with, I was like, well, so who held them accountable and who told them, no, you need to get back in your lane? And they were like, well, nobody did. I was like, that's exactly why they keep stepping out of their lane. So, Davia, I guess maybe the long way to answer your question, because I do tend to talk a lot, is just get to the point, Todd. Get to the point. Have a conversation. Maybe it doesn't need to be a form. Maybe it doesn't need to be a weekly one-on-one meeting. Maybe it's, hey, I'm catching you walking down the hallway and there's nobody else here. And I just say, hey, Todd, when you said that in the staff meeting the other day, I don't think that was appropriate at that time, because that's going to confuse our other direct reports here. And that's not what we need them to do. I need it this way. Can we just be, and maybe you can't, but can you just be professional enough to have a conversation without having documentation on a one-on-one meeting, or having a realignment plan, or having a plan of improvement? Maybe it's just a conversation, and maybe it's just a conversation twice. Another thing that came up with that client that I was talking with earlier today was this. They said, well, I told them once. Yup. Again, let's go back to our kids. How many times do we have to tell our kids something before they get it into memory and start doing it? Jasmine, you know, I see Jasmine's like, oh, yes, yes. This is exceptional leadership, can be done in 5 to 10-second bursts. Walking down the hallway. Hey, Davia, don't forget that form I need from you, okay? Thank you. 3 hours later. Hey, Davia, did you get that form done for me? I need that this afternoon. Great. Awesome. I'm going to stop by and grab it from you right now. Thank you.
So it's more like accountability. So when you ask somebody to do something a certain way, you still have to check in with them. I think that's the part that's not happening. Is you go off and say, oh, yeah, they say, yeah, I've got it. But you didn't check in to see if it's been done correctly.
Correct.
To readdress it, like even later that day or the next day.
Yes.
So that would help, not even having to go to a PIP or even having a realignment, as long as they're following up in a
timely manner.
Timely manner.
Yep.
So then what do we do when people say, well, I have too many meetings? I have to meet with too many people.
How fast do we check Facebook and Instagram?
A lot. I mean, yeah.
In 5 and 10-second bursts, right? We all do it. That's what, literally, I was sitting here doing that at 12:55 Eastern Standard Time, waiting for 3 minutes. I was like, I got 3 minutes before I'm going to turn the call on. I'm just going to scroll through. Oh, okay. Hey, somebody said, my cousin asked me. Yeah. Exceptional leadership, 5 to 10-second bursts. So let's say, I'll put it on you, Davia. Let's say you have, how many managers do you have?
I have six. I have seven.
7. Okay. Yeah. Do you have 7 minutes a day that you can devote to that?
Yeah. Well, technically I have one direct report, and then my direct report has 6 managers. So I meet with my direct report for 30 minutes almost every day. Or sometimes we do longer, sometimes we do shorter. So
the reason I said 7 minutes for 7 people is, all right, if we can lead in 10-second bursts, if we break a minute into 10-second chunks, there's 6 chunks of 10 seconds in every minute. So you technically, what is that? 7 times, it's 42. You have 42 touches a day that you have time to give every direct report. Now that's excessive. I wouldn't recommend doing that 42 times a day, but I'm just using that time, that math to illustrate a point. It just a quick follow-up. Maybe it's a text, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's walking down the hall while you're grabbing your lunch out of the break room or whatever it is. Just a 5 to 10 second touch. Hey, did you get that done? Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Because it gives you a fork in the road. Fantastic feedback. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Or, okay, can you have it to me by 3? Excellent. Thank you. And then again, it spins back into something positive. But you're giving that feedback. They're getting that touch from you. And what are they eventually going to learn? Oh, well, when I'm asked to do this thing, I had better do this thing. Like my precious Mia, my 13-year-old. Mia, I need you to go clean your room. Do you think I can say that once to Mia? Absolutely not. Mia's going to look at every butterfly and speck of dust on the way to her room before she gets there. And I need to follow back up with her. Mia, did you do that yet? No. Okay. Mommy's coming home in 15 minutes, and then we're all going to get in the car and go. So I need that done in 15 minutes. Can you get that done in 15 minutes? I think so. Excellent. Good job. And then 14 minutes later, I'm going to go up there. Hey, looks fantastic, Mia. Great job. Or, okay, looks like you're going to have some work to do. When you get home, you don't get any free time when we come home. You have to finish your room. And it's just maintaining that consistent contact with whatever they need. That's the hard part. Because maybe they don't want to hear from us that much. Let me ask a hard question. Does it matter?
Yes, it does matter.
Does it matter to get the job done?
You mean touches or?
Yeah. Does it matter how many touches they need to get the job done? No, that's the wrong way to ask that question.
No.
Does it matter if they don't like that we're following up?
No, it doesn't matter.
Right.
We should follow up because, and I think that's where a lot of it, even with my admin team, when we follow up, it's like, well, they don't trust me. It's not that it's more like I'm trying to learn their style because we've never had leaders before. We never had managers. I'm trying to learn their decision-making ability because they've never been in the leadership role at HPC. We never had it. So I used my team as an an example that I'm giving y'all my car, but you're asking me to trust. You're asking me to trust you with my car when I haven't seen you drive yet. You're asking me to trust you with something very valuable. Yes, I do trust you to a point, but I've got to learn how you do things because I've never seen you in that role before.
Mm.
It's like when you see people like waitressing and stuff like that, they have that person that's working with them that they're training so they can see how to do it. Or at the bank, when you see a new teller, they've got somebody standing behind them showing them how to use the system. It's that kind of accountability that we didn't realize, or I didn't realize I needed until 6 months, 8 months after I'd given them the position.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was more, I felt like half the team felt like they need to be hands-on, they need to have all the control, or half the team need to follow. It was very discombobulated. So it wasn't until after I talked to you that I really got clear on what I thought a team-led company was, what I expected them to do for the, until we got aligned. But I still think the hardest part between all of us is holding each other. Maybe it's getting better because it feels better. I'm accountable, and saying,
can
hey,
I push you on something?
Yes, I would love for you to.
Because I know there's people on this call who know you, but this will be a fun one.
Everybody in here knows me.
Pepper's like, get her. So, Davia, let's say I pulled up to your house today and I said, Davia, can I borrow your car? What would you tell me?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What if I pulled up in a Maserati?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay. What if I told you I had a CDL license?
Absolutely not.
Okay. then I'm going to say you need to trust more.
I agree. I agree. And that's where I'm working towards. There's a lot of people here that I think y'all have noticed a big difference because like they're wanting to learn how I do things or why I think the way I do. So I'm having to slow down and say why I did something. This is how I made this decision. But I also need them to give that to me too, because I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. And it's more of a two-way street right now. But there are some people I'm like, they've got it, they're going. I'm like, you go, you go. And it always seems to be with something that's new that's come up that we've never had to deal with before. So I even need to absorb it and get an idea of which way I think it would be best to go. Sometimes we'll talk about it and I'll get their opinions and go with what they want. Or sometimes I really just need to go with what I think right now. So I'm trying to work on that. Yes. Do I need to trust more? It's because I've been burned so bad by employees, by life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a job that if somebody makes a mistake, I could end up in jail.
Fair. I've had clients like that as well.
So they need to understand that that scares me to death because nothing is worth my freedom. So that's where that's coming from.
Yes.
I need to be in the lawsuits. I've had to have 2 or 3 lawsuits because an employee did something and I'm having to defend the company when I didn't have anything to do with it to begin with. You know, and that's where that's why I'm so protective of it, because I'm not only protecting HPC and my livelihood or my freedom. I've got 33 women I'm trying to protect, or 33 employees.
So you have an umbrella of protection that you have to put out there as well.
Constantly.
Yeah. I'm also, when I was saying the thing about if you'd let me borrow your car, what I was getting at was I have a driver's license. I've already proven that I can drive. I have a luxury sports car, which I don't have a Maserati. I don't. I have a Chevy truck. But if I have a Maserati, man, bad drivers don't have nice cars. And if you saw that I was driving a Maserati, you should know, well, you know what? Todd got here. He didn't crack up his car. He's at least a good driver. The state of Michigan has given him a driver's license. So if you have people who come to you and they want to drive your car, yeah, I know, I get it that you want to see them drive before you let them take your car. Mm-hmm. But maybe they're a better driver than you. And they just need an opportunity to show that to you. And maybe you need to go drive the car with them to give you a little bit more comfort. Sure. But you have to let them drive the car at some point. I
completely agree. I really
Trust
do.
but verify is one of my favorite phrases. Trust but verify.
I think that's what the problem is I am trusting and verifying now. And yeah. Yep. I'm going to shut up there because.
All right. Well, Jasmine's got her hand raised. Jasmine, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to give you a little bit of kudos. The last time we were in, you said something about nice, nasty, or nasty, nice.
Yes.
And I actually talked to my husband about it. And we've got it in our household now with the touches with our son. Hey, you need to do this, but later on we're going to have this after dinner. Kind of interpreting that in our own life. And the shift has been almost immediate in the response he gives us. And it was just, I've started doing it at work too. The nasty nice. Hey, we really need to get this done, but also a good job at something else you did last week. Just kind of pivoting the way that I speak with this is what I need from you immediately. But hey, good job on something else. And the touching of, hey, you got 10 minutes. I'm following back up in 10 minutes. Let me know what you got. And it's really pushed the boundaries of things are getting done in what I consider a timely manner. I've noticed that too, is that I have to realize my version of timely is not everyone else's version of timely.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother session. Yes.
Set my expectation of what is on time and checking back in has made it to where if I request something, it's immediate. It's not, hey, blah, blah, blah. It's Jasmine requested something. I'm going to do what I can to get it done. And it's kind of, even in a week, the shift of me staying on top of checking back in. Hey, I called. I want you to call too. And just getting that immediate gratification. Everyone's sense of time is changing as well, which is nice.
Oh, yes. Yes. In a professional setting, you also have to take into ethnic and cultural differences, because there are entire countries that think being late is cool. And it's like, and if you're operating from those differences, what you're expecting, they may think they are giving you, but they may have no idea that they're doing it wrong or offending you. And just mindset of that. I use my wife as a great example. My wife grew up on welfare, extremely poor. I was kind of middle class growing up. The way that we look at, she always buys potatoes. Every week she buys potatoes at the grocery store. And I just asked, and like, we've been married 22 years this summer. Just last year, I'm like, honey, why are we always growing potatoes in the cabinet? We don't hardly ever eat them. And she was like, I don't know. I don't know. And so did it again, bought another bag of potatoes that we threw away the next week because they're growing all these things. And it's like, so finally I was like, no, honey, why are we always buying potatoes? We just throw them away. And she said, honestly, I think it's from when I was on welfare, with my family. Potatoes were cheap, but they were filling. And so we always had potatoes in the house, because then when we didn't have anything else to eat, we could make a baked potato, put some butter and salt on it, and at least we had something to eat. Wow. That, after 20 years of marriage, that gave me new insight into how she thinks about some things. She thinks about certain things in our house from a place of trauma. So, Jasmine, to your point, yes, we always need to consider, and that's part of having those hallway conversations. I have also done this before. I'll be walking down the hallway and I'll be like, kind of at odds with somebody, like, oh, I'm pushing them, they're pushing back. It's like, and finally I'll just say, hold on, stop. We're at odds about this thing. I want it this way. You're pushing back on me. We're not happy with each other right now. I'm calling the baby ugly. What place, what frame of reference are you coming from on this? Because I need to understand that maybe I'm missing something. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, well, I just thought you were being a jerk because I said I'd have it in on Tuesday and oh, okay. I did say Tuesday, didn't I? I forgot about that. And now you're right. I'm wrong. You're right. My bad. I'll see you on Tuesday. And having the guts to walk away and admit that I'm wrong, what a huge relational builder that is for some of my direct reports. Some of the best relationships I've had have come out of conflict, where I have said, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm your leader. And in my head, I could be like, man, I could fire this person today if I wanted, but I'm still going to apologize because I was wrong. And when your kids, your direct reports, anybody who is, I'm going to say, beneath you, hears you apologize and take ownership for something, wow. Now you're starting to lead. I had working with a local church, and the pastor did something kind of wrong, not morally wrong, but just did something in the wrong sequence, and it kind of messed up this event. And then we ended up having to cancel the event. Pastor got up Sunday morning, said, hey, we have to cancel this event. My fault. I did some things wrong. We weren't ready for the things that we needed to do. So we've got to revisit it. We've got some new information. I'm sorry. Wow. What great leadership, because now everybody in that congregation just heard the pastor say, I was wrong. But he's going to work on fixing it. So thank you for raising that point, Jasmine. Excellent point. Does anybody else have any questions? Pepper, go for it.
Hyperfixation moment. Sorry. I want to go all the way back to the realignment meetings. I know everybody's on TikTok and y'all know that one sound where they're like, is this play about us? That kind of went in my head when we heard the realignment meeting, because this play is about us. But I wanted to tie to like something you said in with the idea of the alignment meetings. You talked about structuring it to a specific person. Like when you were with your student, you would just call out his dad's phone number. I think personally, because I understand that we need the realignment for documentation too, I personally feel I would use it more if I were able to structure and choose the questions based on the individual I'm dealing with and the scenario I'm dealing with, instead of having a set of 7 questions for every single person, every single situation. I feel I would be more inclined to use it if that could happen.
That would be amazing. I'm happy to actually do that, let y'all do that, or have y'all do that. But I need the documentation back. And what I found is that you could probably do, you can do that, but I have others that need some type of guidance because they wind up doing all the talking and not letting the staff talk. I've got so many of y'all that are so far ahead of others, but the other ones are coming up. So I have no problem with letting y'all change the wording and stuff, but there's got to be some feedback from the employee and not you giving all the advice all the time. Is that fair? So
I mean, we
sometimes
could still use a form and also, you know, the recording. We could put the questions that we asked, you know, in all of that, still do and put it in the HR file just like we were doing the others. But I do think it would be a better flow and a better fit if people could, you know, because when I go to my team about something, I want to be me in everything that I do. And if I just go and I read those 7 questions, I don't think it has the impact on them because they can tell that's not from me.
But technically, it should be Jasmine doing it, not you.
I'm gonna do Jasmine's. But I mean, when we did it,
Yeah, but I understand.
I've only done one.
I think that's great. But if there's not, but there has to be some, when we start out with a new project or a new idea, there has to be some type of guide rails and start using it because it's going to evolve and develop, just like our SOPs. They're not the same as last year. It's just we got to use something and have something to go by and try. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. But then we also need to be able to replace it with something. So that you're going to do it this way, your way, doing it, changing it up, being you. But how can, if we're going to have 4 or 5 other people, you're going to have to be okay with Jasmine doing it her way, your next leader doing it her way. So you're going to have some guide rails there.
I'm
So-
completely okay with folks doing it their own way. But I do
Well,
agree.
we will
set
see.
parameters.
We
Set
will
the
see.
parameters of what's required in it. You know, if it's required that they identify the issue and it's required that they offer up a solution, even if it's a bad one, like on his one-on-one, where then you could say, you know, that might not be, you know, but, or we could just be like, great idea. Let's try it and see what happens. I think we have those loose parameters. This is required. This is required. As long as those are hit, I don't think it should matter if we read off that script of 7 questions.
I think that's fine. But I do want to request that whatever you do, you give it to them before
In
you
advance.
meet with them, because giving it to them a day before, letting people realize, because a lot of times whenever we're getting on to some people or saying something about what they're doing, they had no idea that they were on the edge anyway. Because just saying, hey, I need you to do this, hey, I need you to do this, but you're not saying this is affecting us X, Y, and Z. There's a big, you know what I mean? So giving it to them ahead of time and being steadfast with that date, with the date the next day and staying with it, knows that it's coming. They just need to be ready for it.
Yeah. And I would also suggest if you're giving them a form to give feedback on or look at or put their thoughts down on, you don't just hand it to them and say, I need this tomorrow, that you take 5 minutes and review it with them so they have a clear understanding of what you're asking for. And then again, have that second meeting the next day. Absolutely. But don't ever just give somebody something and say, I need this tomorrow without some sort of explanation as to why or how to do it or what it is. Pepper, I would affirm you in what you're looking at. It's kind of like training wheels. Not everybody needs training wheels for the same amount of time. And if you are looking at that form, that realignment form, and there's better ways that you could word things, because I do think that authenticity is important with your direct reports. And if they're in a meeting with you, Pepper, and they're hearing Todd's voice because of the questions that you're reading, they're just going to be like, oh, come on. You know, Pepper, it's you and me here. Like, just talk to me, Pepper, you know? So if you could adjust that, have some loose parameters, but still get the same information that you need, absolutely. And again, just like our kids, like I have nephews who are twins. They're identical. You can't even tell them apart, but man, are they different. Man, do you need to handle them differently. And same thing with our direct reports. Absolutely. So Davia, I would encourage you to trust Pepper's driver's license.
Oh, I do. I trust Pepper's driver's license. I do.
Let her
It is
drive.
semi-valid.
And honestly, I'm going to say this out loud. I trust her driver's license because of the positive way she's coming at things, and the how she's leading her team, and how Jasmine leads the team, because they share the same team. When it's so much easier to accept change when it comes at you positively, but at the same time, when it's being received, sometimes some of our staff is receiving it negatively. So that's like a buzzkill. But no matter what it is, as long as there's a positive spin I put on it, hey, and then come back later like, hey, I liked your idea, but have you thought about this? Is a totally different way of saying, instead of, it's just, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm speaking well enough right now.
Well, and everybody receives things differently. Like I use a lot of personal examples, but I think you guys will be able to relate to this. There's probably, like, my mom and dad. There are things that I can say to my mom that she laughs at. If my dad were to say that to my mom, there'd be a pot flying across the kitchen at his head. And we all have situations and relationships like that. You have to be able to know what you can say to people. And maybe sometimes, like the client that I was talking to this morning, I was like, say this to them because they'll hear it from you, but they won't hear it from the other person because of your relationship. Or there's other times I'll be like, you can't say that. Let them say that. Because if they say it, it'll get through. But if you say it, it's going to be a whole big mess.
And that's exactly we've already figured that out.
Yeah.
That's definitely, because I can say one thing and half of them hear one thing and the other half hear something. Now, and the same thing with, So
you have to be able to find the people who can speak to the other half that you can't speak to, or find a way to say it so that they hear it, which can be interesting.
Very true. Jess Waters has to sometimes translate, as she says, pepper knees into something other people can understand, because I'm not the best at sometimes getting my thoughts out in a written form, and she's fantastic at that. So she does have to, depending on how I get to communicate with you, it might actually be coming from Jess if it's written.
Which is using your skill sets. I'm going to get into this probably in another couple months about shoulder tapping and finding people who can do the thing that you can't do. Like I talked about with Myron Golden, find somebody who can do the thing that you can't do. Or if you need something specific done, like ask the baker to bake. Don't ask the mechanic to bake. You don't want grease in your muffins.
Well, that's like, I don't ask Pepper to test any software out. I ask her to be there, but I don't ask her to test any software out. If I want software tested out, I'll pull Jessica Waters or Jessica Kennard in there just to see what, to see about it and stuff. So I already see a lot of their strengths and things. It's just keeping people moving forward instead of reverting backwards.
Yes. All right. Do we have any other questions? I won't put anybody on the spot. If you don't have questions, that's totally fine. If you do, feel free to ask them. Kind of scrolling through. I'm looking at, I've got all of you in a gallery view up here, so I'm looking at everybody.
I'm seeing if it's just, this is my whole team, Todd.
That's awesome.
Well, they don't have a choice. Just saying.
That's all right. We had fun.
Well, one thing I want to say just on what you guys were just talking about is talking about like using, that sounds rude, but using people for their different strengths is, as a team, we have to make sure, in my opinion, we have to make sure that that part alone is in a positive way and not in a negative way. Like Davia just said, I wouldn't go to Pepper for this. We're all very close here. We know that, that wasn't hurtful, but in a different sense, that could have been hurtful to somebody. So, and I think like, oh, she skipped past me and went to this person to ask for their input or their feedback, or for them to be in this meeting instead of, Bob. I think that you have to make sure that we all are understanding that that's coming from a place of, that's not my strength, and being very honest about that. Because I feel like sometimes we, as a team and as a company, we don't like to admit like, that's not my strong suit. But right. I might be really strong on these 10 things over here, but this one is not my strong suit. So if I get bypassed on that, I can't like harbor resentment or ill will because I'm being bypassed on that. And I think that's important to understand and to truly feel like what you guys were just talking about.
We look at things all the time when we're doing stuff like this, is that, just so everybody knows here, I look to see what are you working on? Can I pull you away? Because I need you over here. And are you really good at it? Would it be easier for you than saying having somebody else having to learn or do X, Y, and Z? So I think, and then it's not that we're excluding, it's just, it's those things that's how I make a lot of the decisions about who's in what meeting and who's doing X, Y, and Z, because some people are really better at it than others.
Yeah. And I think we also have to, Jessica Kennard, or am I saying that right? Kennard? Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica, to your point, I think that's, we have to not be offended. Some of us like to be offended. Believe it or not, there are people in this world who like to be offended, and then they will pick that up and carry that with them. I'm so offended all the time. And if we can move past that, like joking with my wife about technology, I'm going to tell you an embarrassing story about myself, and you're all going to laugh at this. I want you to, I'll use this marker that I have here. See how this marker, that's not a good one. Use this one. It's better color. So it's a pen, right? Red pen. Top is up here, right? When I was a young married husband trying to prove myself as a man, I was remodeling our bathroom, and I had one pipe that I had to fix to finish the bathroom and the bottom of the sink. And I spent 6 hours on one pipe, 3 trips to Home Depot. And my wife came in at 5 p.m. and she's like, honey, I'm so proud of you. You're doing such a good job. And you just, man, built me up. And she's like, can I make one suggestion? And I said, honey, at this point, I'm ready to cry. Oh, Jessica, you are so there. I had the pipe in upside down. 3 trips to Home Depot in 5 hours. What a humbling moment for me. But that also allowed me to say, wow, you're really good at mechanical stuff. My wife took apart the washing machine down to the pump to find a baby sock that was stuck in the pump, put the whole thing back together, and it still runs to this day. We have to be like, okay, Jessica, you passed me up. You didn't ask for my opinion on this. I have to be able to go to you and say, Jessica, why didn't you ask me? And you're like, well, Todd, because last time I saw you do something, it took you 6 hours to figure out how to flip the pipe over. Fair. And I have to be okay with that. If I'm going to, and I would encourage us to be okay asking those hard questions, but also receiving the answers. Don't ask a question you don't really want an answer to. And that's hard.
Agreed.
Because sometimes we want to ask the question, why didn't you ask me? Snapping my fingers. No, you don't really want the answer to that. And I have to be okay to say, you don't really want the answer to that. I can tell in your mind, I can tell how you ask that question, you're mad. Let's talk about this when you're not mad. Being socially and situationally nimble is hard. It's really, really hard. But if you're at a place where you're never going to get mad about something, and that is a decision, that is absolutely a decision to not get mad at things. Like, I don't care what Jessica says or Tracy or Angela or Jasmine, whatever. You can talk about my non-curly hair, Jasmine. I don't care. I have to be okay with that. And then truly be okay with that. Be like, yeah, not a good time for this conversation. And maybe even just say that, you know what? Emotionally, and we're going to talk about this in a couple of weeks, emotional intelligence. If I come into, if I'm normally cruising at like a 5 out of 10 and I'm just real even keeled, but then my little Mia rolled her eyes at me as she got on the bus this morning, and my wife came in and was like, you're an idiot. You forgot to flip the pipe. And now I'm rolling into work at an 8.75. Jessica, you have to be able to read me and be like, oh, I'm not talking to Todd about this right now. Something's going on with him. He needs to take his pills or something, whatever, but whatever. And like, I make silly, funny examples, but you're going to remember that. So
yeah,
we have to be emotionally intelligent enough to read our people and know where they're at so that we can talk with them and be able to have good, productive conversations.
I think that's the biggest part or the most important part of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Being in any sort of leadership role is being able to read your people, and I mean, not babying them or catering to them or giving in to them all the time, but just reading them, but also them respecting enough to come and ask questions and truly want the answer, like you said, because
yeah, I
live my life like that. I'm not going to ask questions I don't want the answers to.
Right. Yep. How's my hair look? Don't answer that. I interviewed a police chief one time, and just not a formal interview, but I was talking with him and asking him questions about police work, and it came up. he tries to never hire criminal justice majors. He always tries to hire business majors. Why do you think that is? Anybody want to venture a guess why he tried to hire business majors instead of criminal justice majors as his police officers?
Just from my schooling aspect, they teach us business right now in conjunction with the criminal justice major I'm going into. They do it because he wants to know, like, its effectiveness. It's time management, cost, like you have a better outscope of how to run a business versus a police department is a business, bottom line. And you have to know how to run it from how to be an effective person on a team. And business majors have that. Criminal justice where you're just trying to be a crime solver, a detective every single day when it's not actually that.
Yes, police officers tend to be hammers all the time, but business people solve problems. And what is police work really? It's solving problems. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent point.
I
All right,
just had an aha moment. Just
that you want to be a police officer?
no. That okay. Try to follow me here, y'all, ladies. Every time I hired someone, whenever we bring them on, I would hear from my team, oh, I don't like them. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Because I would trust what they were telling me. I would trust what's on the resume. I would trust that they know how to bill. I would trust X, Y, and Z. Guys, thumbs up. How many people did I trust and y'all told me they weren't great? A lot, right? So I've been hearing for the past 10 years, 4 years, that my hiring sucks, right? Or not sucks, but that's how I'm taking it. And I agree. So if my decision-making ability about people is bad, did I make a wrong choice in promoting y'all to leadership? And I don't think I did. I'm just saying.
I was going to say, you're asking a question. You want an answer to that one?
No, I don't. But that's also where I think that I've been told that my decisions and the people that I've choose to do X, Y, and Z, they couldn't do X, Y, and Z. So now I'm having to work through allowing y'all be leaders and managers when y'all are the ones telling me that I don't do a good job at it to begin with. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying, I'm just realizing that's where maybe I'm also holding on to things. Has nothing to do with y'all doing that because y'all are being honest. It has to do with me as now I'm second guessing everything I've done.
No, lay that down. Put that under the car that you won't let me drive and run it over.
You're not driving my, no, because I just got my dream car and I'm not, no.
No.
My husband, put it this way, my husband hasn't even driven my car. Does that tell you how much of a freak I am about my vehicle?
You need to let that go, Davia, because here's why. Doesn't matter what decision you made 10 years ago or yesterday. We are here now, and we have to move forward with who we are, what we have, and the direction that we're going. Period. That's it. There's no looking back can give you experience and insights, but you have to move forward with your team, what you have, and that's it. So yeah, you can look back and say, did I make bad decisions? I don't know. Did you? Maybe you're not assessing that right. You're asking a lot of questions, which I think is great because you're being very introspective, but you have to have time to sift that out.
Yeah.
And you have to move forward with facts and evidence. Is Todd doing well? Yes, Todd's doing well based on this criteria. Todd's doing poorly based on this criteria. If you don't have criteria to assess those good or bad things, then you can't really assess.
How do you assess attitude?
I don't know. You got some attitude right now, Davia. Why don't you let me drive your car?
I always have attitude.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right. Thumbs up on screen. When I asked if I could drive her car, she went like this. Nope.
Mm-mm.
Yep. You're from Georgia. I know what kind of attitude you get in Georgia. I got Southern friends. All jokes aside, you have to move forward. You have to move forward with what you have. And from what I've learned over the past couple of weeks, your team is fantastic. Your team has fantastic mindsets moving forward. They're open. Yeah, absolutely. So how can you be better as a leader moving forward from this point? And this is a hypothetical question you don't need to answer right now. And then Pepper, Tracy, Jessica, Jasmine, Angela, and let me just go down the list here. Other Jessica, Danielle. How are all of you going to move forward in your leadership with your teams based on what you know? That's the real question. Jasmine, I appreciate you at the beginning talking about the things that you've implemented and some of the effects that you've seen change already. That's fantastic. So right there, someone who is solution oriented is looking to move forward and grow. Excellent. Yep. So Jessica Kennard does not ask questions that she doesn't want the answer to. Good information to know. Absolutely. Pepper is better verbal and not overwritten. The other Jessica, where's it? Other Jessica. I'm sorry, you're not the other Jessica. You are Jessica Waters. Jessica Waters is great with written communication. I see a lot of strengths on this team. Angela is sitting quietly, just like Danielle. That's okay. They're thinkers.
Which is strange because they're a customer service specialist. They should be talking.
This is probably the one time they don't have to talk today. They probably are welcoming the break. That's okay. That's all right. They're just sitting back, assessing, learning. All right. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns for today?
No.
All right. Well, I thank you all for joining me today. I really enjoy, like, this pumps me up. I feel we had like a little session today.
We did.
We had a session today. So Davia, I'm going to implore you to, with all of your team members, to hold them accountable respectfully and kindly, but hold them accountable. And then all of the team members, I'm going to ask that you hold Davia accountable as well, and each other.
Respectfully and kindly.
Yes, because otherwise we'll talk about you horribly on next week's call. No, I'm kidding. We won't. All right. Thank you for joining me today. I will send out this PDF with the email later on this afternoon, so you will get that if you want to use it. It's free. It's not proprietary. Make whatever changes to it you want. Make it work for what you need and have. And hopefully I will see you all next week.